The big focus that we have for you this evening on The Nation Wants to Know is what happened in Bangladesh today. After the worst spate of violence since Bangladesh's liberation, Sheikh Hasina has resigned from the post of Prime Minister and has been forced to flee the country. The protests, which started last month initially with a demand to end the quota system that reserved 30% of government jobs for the families of the 1971 Liberation War veterans, later turned into anti-government demonstrations and today descended into mass anarchy. Just look at the visuals that we are bringing to you. At least 100 people, including 14 policemen, were killed in clashes on Sunday. And as videos emerged of her reportedly trying to leave the country in a chopper for safer haven, jubilant crowds took to the streets to celebrate their victory. And then Army Chief General Zaman announced Hasina's resignation that ended her 15 years in power in Bangladesh. And before that, 45 minutes were given as an ultimatum by the army of Bangladesh to Sheikh Hasina to resign as the Prime Minister of that country. Listen in to these reactions.
Interim government ফর্ম করব এবং ইন্টারিম গভর্নমেন্টের মাধ্যমে এই দেশের সমস্ত কার্যকলাপ চলবে। আমরা এখন মহামান্য রাষ্ট্রপতির কাছে যাব যে এই ইন্টারিম গভর্নমেন্ট ফর্মের ব্যাপারে ওনার সাথে আলোচনা করে আমরা একটা ইন্টারিম গভর্নমেন্ট ফর্ম করে দেশ পরিচালনা করব। সেনাবাহিনী শান্তি শৃঙ্খলা বজায় রাখার কাজ চালিয়ে যাবে এবং আপনাদের সবার দায়িত্ব, ছাত্রদের দায়িত্ব, রাজনৈতিক নেতৃবৃন্দ এবং রাজনৈতিক কর্মীদের দায়িত্ব হচ্ছে সেনাবাহিনীকে সাহায্য করা এবং আপনারা মিডিয়ার মাধ্যমে আমাদেরকে এই যে একটু আমাদের সাহায্য করেন, সুতরাং আমরা তাহলে এই পরিস্থিতি নিয়ন্ত্রণ সহজেই নিয়ে আসতে পারব। আপনারা আমার সাথে সহযোগিতা করেন, দয়া করে আর এই ভাঙচুর, হত্যা, মারামারি, সংঘর্ষ এগুলো থেকে বিরত হন। আমি নিশ্চিত যে আপনারা যদি আমার কথা মতো চলেন, আমাদের সাথে যদি একসাথে যদি কাজ করি আমরা, নিঃসন্দেহে আমরা একটা সুন্দর পরিণতির দিকে আমরা অগ্রসর হতে পারব।
And in the latest update that we are getting at this point in time, we are learning that Sheikh Hasina has landed at the Hindon Air Base amid tight security arrangements. Top sources are telling your channel that the armed forces have been tasked with her security and she will be taken to a secure place. Meanwhile, security has been beefed up at the Bangladesh High Commission in the national capital. Here's a report.
After the situation went out of control in Bangladesh, Sheikh Hasina left the country. And what we are being now told is that she has landed at Hindon Air Base in New Delhi. And currently, we are reporting from Bangladesh High Commission. This is the office of Bangladesh High Commission, and here you can see that the barricades have been put at gate number 1, in fact at both the sides, keeping in mind the security and the kind of situation that Bangladesh is going through right now. The situation over there is very much critical, very volatile, and the police personnel have also been deployed over here, and this particular area from where the vehicles are passing, this area has been as of now cordoned off, so that is why vehicular movement is being made via that particular lane, via the opposite lane. But as of now, yes, here security remains to be increased, and officials are also coming for a regular security check over here outside the Bangladesh High Commission. But we'll have to see that what happens next. Will Hasina stay in India or she will go to London, according to the reports that we are getting in?
And there's a breaking update that we are getting for you at this point in time. We are being told that the External Affairs Minister, S. Jaishankar, may give a statement in Parliament tomorrow on the crisis that we saw in Bangladesh today. Let me go across to my colleague Rishabh joining us on the broadcast for more on this. Rishabh, what more details can you share with us? So tomorrow, a statement by the External Affairs Minister in the Parliament can be expected.
Well, whether we can expect it or not depends on how things unfold tonight. If the need be is what S. Jaishankar's office is confirming to Times Now. If need be, there will be a statement from External Affairs Minister. As of now, there is no scheduled plan for a statement from Dr. S. Jaishankar in the Parliament. If need be, he might brief the Parliament about the situation in Bangladesh. As of now, it has not been confirmed. His office has told Times Now. Apart from that, he held a meeting with Prime Minister. The meeting lasted for 15 minutes. He has briefed Prime Minister Narendra Modi about the situation in Bangladesh and how the former Prime Minister of Bangladesh, Sheikh Hasina, is in India and what future course of action would be. While walking in the Parliament, he also met a leader of opposition, Rahul Gandhi, and both discussed the situation in Bangladesh. We can have a statement coming in from MEA for that matter, but as of now, nothing is confirmed. The government right now is looking at the situation. My sources, our sources in MEA or the Government of India suggest that it is still an evolving situation. India cannot take a stand as of now, given that we share boundaries with Bangladesh, given that the situation is very volatile in Bangladesh. We are waiting to understand how things unfold. Only after that, we will make a statement, is what we are given to understand.
All right, Rishabh, thank you very much for the moment for joining us with all of those details. We'll, of course, be coming back to you again for more updates on this developing story. We'll see what the External Affairs Minister will have to say on this. Moving on, let's now welcome our guest joining us on the show this evening, Professor Ayanjit Sen, who is an international affairs expert. Bennett University is joining us on the broadcast. Chirayu Thakkar, who is a foreign policy expert, is also live with us. Heena Gambhir, former ambassador, is joining us, and Pathikrit Payne, who is a geopolitical analyst, is with us on the broadcast as well. Appreciate all of you for joining us here on Times Now. Heena Gambhir, let me begin the discussion with you. One simple question first, because it all started as a protest by students on the quota aspect in the government jobs. How did we get here? What we saw unfolding on the streets of Dhaka today, what is your assessment?
Well, my assessment is very clear that the quota reform movement ended, I would say, on 21st July when the Supreme Court gave the verdict to them that yes, the quotas have been reformed, only 5% for freedom fighters' children and 2% elsewhere. It has to be recalled that it is Sheikh Hasina's government who actually abolished the quota system in 2018 when there was protests, by the students at that time. And only in June this year, because somebody went to the High Court and got the High Court to overturn the 2018 decision, but Sheikh Hasina's government went to the Supreme Court and they upheld the fact that there will be only 5% reservation for freedom fighters. And I think that, the students at that time had got what they wanted. But because there had been killings of students, which is a huge tragedy, and there had been, the Awami students wing, the Chhatra League had got into the act, the Shibir, the Jamaat-e-Islami student wing had got into the act, and the BNP student wing, there was a huge amount of clashes, people died. The Daily Star yesterday reported that 204 students had died, 204 individuals had died, out of which 53 were students and the rest were police personnel, civilians and other people who were there. So there has to be an inquiry into that. The Prime Minister, former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina had ordered a judicial inquiry into that. So that all ended. But what it morphed into was a huge protester movement where they destroyed a huge amount of strategic civilian infrastructure, the Bangladesh television building, the national data center, right, expressways, highways, and so on. So I think that in the end, what we saw today was not a students' movement. So protesters, to see protesters vandalizing the
This
statue
clearly
of
wasn't a movement by the students. That's an important point, and that's what we would like to focus on. Ambassador Sikri, I'm just interrupting you there because we are getting some breaking updates as well. It is a developing story. Top sources have told Times Now that Sheikh Hasina is still at the Hindon Air Base. That's what we are given to understand. There have been continuous calls between London and Sheikh Hasina. Sources are also telling your channel that Sheikh Hasina wants to leave for London as soon as possible, and that could be as early as tonight. Let me go back to my colleague Rishabh getting us this information. Rishabh, so it seems that she does not want to stay here in the national capital in India, wants to head to London straight, and arrangements are now being made.
Well, Heena, if we talk about what's happening in London, or for that matter, United Kingdom is already undergoing violence for last 48 hours. Since the Southport stabbing, there have been violence in various parts of UK, and that's the reason that the time is being taken by UK government as well to understand whether they can give political asylum to Sheikh Hasina or not. What if Eric's the BNP cadre who are, for that matter, in good numbers staying in London or United Kingdom already, but what we are given to understand that mostly she'll be heading to London. As of now, she's still inside the Hindon Air Base. Continuous calls are going on, as you mentioned, and remember, she's being accompanied by her sister, who also, for that matter, is a UK citizen already. So right now, what Sheikh Hasina's close aides are confirming to Times Now that it could be as early as tonight that Sheikh Hasina might move to London. And as our senior colleague Priyank was also suggesting that the flights for London, the direct flight for London begins around 9 p.m. India time tonight. So it would be interesting to see how things unfold there. Meanwhile, National Security Advisor Ajit Doval has reached Hindon. He has met Sheikh Hasina as well.
Right, that's another big update that we are getting for our viewers, Rishabh, at this point in time. We are being told that National Security Advisor Ajit Doval has, in fact, reached Hindon Air Base, and he had a meeting with Sheikh Hasina as well. What are the details that you can share with us on this particular meeting?
See, if we talk about NSA Ajit Doval has been someone who has been to Bangladesh the most number of times when it comes to the government of India in last 1 decade. He has met a number of officials in Sheikh Hasina government, be it the 2014 government, be it the 2019 government, or even the newly formed January 2024 government. Ajit Doval is someone who has been very close to Awami League, even back in the days as an intelligence bureau officer, while Awami League or for that matter the whole Mukti Wahini was struggling against the Pakistani army and their atrocities. Ajit Doval has seen those operations as well, and that's the reason that he has been chosen by Government of India to meet Sheikh Hasina first, and that's the reason he visited Hindon Air Base, met Sheikh Hasina, discussed the situation and further course of action. Now all eyes on whether she'll move out of India tonight or she'll stay here for some time. All depends on what she gets a reply from London now.
All right, Rishabh, appreciate you joining us with all of those details. We'll keep coming back to you for more on this developing story. Meanwhile, let me go back to our guests who continue to be with us at this point in time. Professor Sen, as Ambassador Sikri was mentioning earlier, and it is quite important as well that, it no longer remained a student movement. There were forces that hijacked this entire movement of, the students out there. In fact, in January only, we know Sheikh Hasina had won a record 4th term as the Prime Minister of Bangladesh, and that was unopposed. But how she was asked to resign, how an ultimatum was given, what is your assessment? Who are these people at whose behest these developments took place today? And did you see it actually happening like this? Of course, we were seeing voices emerging from Bangladesh. People were unhappy. But did you see it coming like this?
Well, it was, I think, unprecedented development, no doubt on that. Because precisely when the students took over the protest. It was a student protest altogether. But then, of course, the opposition party was there, and there were some other political parties in Bangladesh who, in a way, I won't call that hijacked the event, but in a way, definitely played a part. And it led to a situation which was absolutely uncalled for. Maybe, it was unprecedented because it was not expected on expected lines at all. Because people were thinking that, the issue will be solved if the army comes in, and possibly it will be solved. But now the situation is such that what has happened, I would like to tell you one more aspect here. That an 18-member, it's a confirmed source from the Defense Ministry of Bangladesh. Now, of course, not the Defense Ministry, it's the Defense altogether. And I think they have drawn up an 18-member list, and 18-member kind of a list from which they will choose the interim government. And there's one name which I can definitely take. That's Dr. Salahuddin Ahmad, who's the former governor of the Bangladesh Bank. And there are a few professors and a few army personnel as well, senior retired army personnel, who will be possibly coming in that panel. But anyway, coming back to what happened, actually, it was definitely, in the first few days, was a pure student protest. But as it gained, from Dhaka perspective, the Bangladesh government could not actually take care of the student protests at that point of time, because those killings were actually the turning point. Because had those killings not happened at that point of time, then things would have been far more easier for the government, for the former government in Bangladesh to tackle this particular issue. But that's really unfortunate, and the situation is, going back to 71, where her father, Sheikh Hasina's father, was killed, and then, of course, 75, and then she had to flee the country, and was, of course, given, she had stayed in Delhi for about 6 years under a pseudonym, and then went back to Bangladesh. Well, the situation has come again back to that square one. But it will be interesting to see as to what develops now as we go ahead, because of as to which country she eventually reaches, and then how the developments take place. Because in Bangladesh, after this interim government comes in, they are saying that they would be going in for elections, but when the actual elections, quote unquote, is going to happen is still a faraway decision which the army will take. But as of now, this is the latest that can come. And one more aspect which I would like to mention here is coming, that on 2nd of this month, the Pakistan High Commission in Dhaka had given out a statement saying that they were favoring those students who had actually taken part in the protest, and those students had apparently approached the Pakistan High Commission. I have a letter of that copy also with me. And basically that clearly shows as to how the developments, political developments and international developments have taken place in Dhaka over the past few days.
Very, very important. And of course, many conspiracy theories are there at the moment, Mr. Chirayu Thakur. One, of course, being that perhaps the ouster of Hasina, in a way, is part of Pakistan's long-running efforts to replace this, very India-friendly government that Bangladesh has had since last 15 years.
Heena, good evening, and thank you for having me. I think diplomatically, it's a difficult time for India, because India has lost a friend who was ruling Bangladesh for 15 years. And of course, in the last few years, particularly Sheikh Hasina was not in good books of many major powers, great powers. China was not happy that Hasina was very pro-India, but she knew how to manage that imbalance between China and India. In the last cabinet, she appointed a few pro-India ministers, a few pro-China ministers. But I think the United States was also not very happy, and there were clear tensions between Dhaka and Washington. Of course, post-election, they tried to settle some of those things. But if a foreign government tried to interfere, now whichever government did that, they have left with a Pyrrhic victory, because there is absolute political vacuum in Dhaka. You see, Hasina and her party are no more popular. Khalida Zia is really bedridden, sort of, and her son is in exile. So there is sort of a political vacuum. Jamaat-e-Islami is a sort of political pariah, and the US embassy was flirting with Jamaat. That is the support that we already have. And if Jamaat is going to come, I don't know how it is going to aid some of the ideas about Indo-Pacific and making Bangladesh an important partner in that drive. So I think what we are seeing right now in Bangladesh is a political vacuum, is uncertainty, and this situation is not going to favor anyone. And if somebody tried to meddle in, we don't know for sure, to borrow your conspiracy theory, we don't know for sure, but if somebody really tried to meddle, it's a Pyrrhic victory for everyone.
Right, but a big concern for India. Quick comment, Pathikrit Payne, because Sheikh Hasina era has ended, we all know. How concerned should India really be going forward?
Well, it's Pathikrit Payne, first of all. Secondly, so let me tell you one. External dimension not be ruled out. Very clear, and therefore I think the Sheikh Hasina government should have been a little more careful while ensuring that peace prevailed while dealing with the students. Because a student movement like this, when you have bullets being fired, it creates emotive reactions which then go haywire. For India, the unfortunate situation right now is this. I mean, I don't want to comment about who's going to come to the government. We have to wait and watch. But there are elements outside who wanted to create two pressure groups on both sides of India.
Right.
One is Pakistan, the other is on this side. So to that extent, we don't know what's going to come up. So the possibility of illegal infiltration, possibility of radicalization, coming more from that side cannot be ruled out. As Chirayu also mentioned, United States have been giving these pillars for a long time that they don't want this government in place. The same with the Chinese. So given the kind of situation that is, happening, where certain countries actually want India to go to their line, and India's independent foreign policy has been a problem for them. What happened in Bangladesh today is a concern for us.
Absolutely, it is a matter of huge concern for India, and very rightly pointed out, it is a fear regarding infiltration, radicalization, something that India will have to be very, very careful about, because it is a porous border. As far as Indo-Bangladesh border is concerned. I'm completely out of time, but I appreciate all my guests for joining us here this evening on Nation Wants to Know. Heading into a very, very short break. There's lots lined up on the story. Stay with us.